each of you here in our audience were given the opportunity to submit questions that you have. The question is, how did you determine whether internal or external storage is best suited for you?
I don't think I had a choice really. It was just a case of we started with the outdoor units and saw that there was a demand for storage and filled up quite quickly. And at that point didn't realise that I should never be full, and that, you know, once I get to 85% I need to do things to make it so I've always got space, and we didn't. So we just ended up turning away phone calls every day, which as a salesman was very difficult. And I realised then that you know, there was a demand for it in the area that we were. So that's when we looked at what we had available between us, Nick and I, and we decided to develop the indoor storage. So it wasn't really a case of me thinking that's going to be better for me. It was a case of we had some land, the outdoor units fit on it really well, and the whole thing just grew from there really. And I think so far my, you know, experience so far is that outdoor storage really suits some people, and they really like it. And if they want to store, you know, some garage goods and lawnmowers and garden furniture and things, that's absolutely fine. And then other people might want to store soft furnishings, beds, things, and the indoor is suited more towards that. So you know, the two complement each other quite well.
Personally, I think a mixture of both is excellent. If you can do that. Internal, yes, you can create higher yields typically by having internal units, and they are better for your domestic customers. But if you have got that option, and we talked earlier about multiple revenue streams, well, this is another one, because this gives you external outside access. More people can utilise it 24/7, for example, where you may not want people in your building at those times. So it's ideal for tradespeople. And your commercial aspect of things, you can obviously promote by having these external units. And demand for them as we've got similar type of mass units and other types of units outside, and they rent very, very well, particularly in the early stages of a new facility. They're the ones that sometimes get snapped up quite quickly.
Does it make sense to develop self-storage in those type of, you know, retail locations?
To me, it's a dream. If you look back 15 years, the self-storage industry could only hope to be in the retail areas of towns and cities. We were always in the backyards of industrial estates and in old mills. So now to actually be in a retail area is absolutely phenomenal. We're actually just developing a site in a place in Stoke-on-Trent in the UK, on one of the biggest retail parks in the area, an old facility that's closed down. And we've turned it into a self-storage facility by putting small form retail in the front of it, last mile logistic units around the back, and keeping the ground floor commercial whilst having self-storage above. So from my point of view, absolutely, if you can get a retail unit, as long as it's big enough, it would be something that I would actually jump at the opportunity to do so.
I'll add my 2 cents here. During COVID, one of the things that we saw as a significant trend was what we call conversions of big boxes in the United States. So, and the nice thing about big boxes, these would be Kmart's or Walmart's or Target's or that type, some of which, like in the case of Kmart, they went bankrupt. They were facilities that had lots of traffic. They were already retail. They'd already done the homework in terms of the demographics around them. And the building was already built. Oftentimes they were selling at a discount, and it was the quickest and least expensive way to get self-storage to market during that time, because everybody was trying to get our content available in the market because self-storage was doing so well during that time. Since that time, we've seen a decline in conversions of those big boxes because there are less available. And so we've seen a shift to more of new development instead of doing conversions.
Tiago, I think you were going to answer. Somewhere along those lines, actually the footfall was absolutely important. Footfall in those commercial areas is key, because you have marketing done on itself. Just put a big logo somewhere and then people will come. The reality then is obviously tends to be a lot more costly areas, and so you have to make a balance. what's the advantage? Yes, you have more people. Yes, you probably spend less in marketing. But versus being 2-3 miles away, does it compensate? But footfall-wise, absolutely.
The next question had to do with small and medium-sized multi-story facilities. So we're going vertical now in terms of new development, specifically in suburban areas. So the question was asked, what are the most important things to consider with that kind of development? So this would be vertical self-storage in suburban neighborhoods.
Height of the building. So just first things first, how many floors can you build with the mezzanine? And if the more you can build, the better, especially if you can do 3 floors, probably pushing it a little bit. But if you can do 3 floors, basically you're tripling the actual area of the building. So when you put that in square meters and then put that into smaller units in the upper floors, and you charge more for them in terms of square meterage, then I think it's a lot of advantage in doing so.
All right, our next question moves us over to the technical side, a technical question here. What are the key benefits of no-key smart entry and automation for self-storage operators?
I think that they are tremendous. So in terms of facility management, in terms of data, I think that it completely changed the way that you manage your facility, and I think it's a very good feature that you can implement, because you will have data to control. It's more secure. You know at any time what happens in your facility, and in terms of the digitalization of the process for your customer, I think it's amazing. So honestly, go forward.
The last 5 or 6 facilities that we've constructed have all had the no-key smart system in there. And the difference between the older sites and the newer ones, quite simply, is staggering from a customer feedback point of view, and the differentiation it creates in the local environment has been huge. We've got lots of people and lots of customers in because we've got the smart access side of it, because people see it as technology, people see it as the new thing, people want the new things. All consumers want the latest thing. The new iPhone comes out, somebody wants it. If you've got a facility in the area which has the smart access control side of it, people will want to use that. And we've had people come across from other storage facilities in the local area to utilise us, even though we're more expensive, because they presume and they utilise this as being an easier way to get in and out. They have lots of different members of staff who access a unit, so they can share the controls rather than have to give everybody a key. Little things like that do make a huge amount of difference. So we've certainly seen the benefits of it across our newer facilities, that's for sure.
What role do you see AI playing in self-storage over the next few years, and how can operators take advantage of AI?
It's like all technology and things, when you look at it, I think everybody's nervous about it. And I think there was some at the self-storage convention at Telford, there was a banner that said, was it AI won't take over, but the people who use AI will. And from some of the things that you were saying today about gathering information from other price competitors, dragging that down and giving that analysis and using it as a tool, I think it's going to be key to a lot of businesses going forward. And it's just how you use it. And I think it's up to us as operators and owners to not to be frightened of it, to embrace it. I suppose it's a bit like the no-key thing. I know it's not AI, but I remember, 18 months, 2 years ago, talking to people about it, and they were just horrified that anybody would not want to sell a padlock. And here we are, everybody's embracing it, and it's moving forward.
What are the most effective marketing strategies for a new development? So you're opening a new facility, what are the most effective marketing strategies?
I think in our particular case, we would like to embellish a little bit of our external facade of the building. It's hard to miss a big yellow warehouse. We usually a big logo on top. But I think going back to what Paul was mentioned earlier, actually we get involved quite a lot with our local communities. Mostly through sports, it's been the case, but not just. We find that also happens.
The vast majority of your budget, your marketing budget, if you're realistic, is going to go online. roughly around about 80% of my marketing budget goes online to Google and to obviously various people who help us with SEO and things like that. So let's forget about that for the moment because these three guys have talked about it. I believe very, very strongly, charity community partners. If you can get involved with your local community and find 2 or 3 charities who are in your local area, they will do the Instagramming, the Facebooking on your behalf. They will become your marketing tool. So actually getting into bed, might be the wrong terminology with a charity, but getting with a charity and also getting with local community sports is huge. And do something a bit different. I was fortunate enough to run the mascot Grand National as an 8-foot-high cat about 8 years ago, and that created a great amount of exposure. It wasn't necessarily something for everybody, but actually it helped to promote the brand and promote the business in that particular way. So do something different, be different, and have fun.
What challenges do you foresee for the self-storage industry in your region?
In Portugal, since it is a very new market, I think we have a challenge with awareness regarding the clients. So most of the people don't know what self-storage is, and I think that thing is a challenge.
I would say in our area, it's going to be space. So we're sort of on the edge of the Lake District, so governed by the National Park Authority, most of it. So there's virtually no new commercial buildings being built, or very, very few. So it's trying to find space. So, and it may be things like, shopping centres that have gone, or shop things in town, or looking at alternative things. But in terms of like nice new shiny sheds, especially in my area, it just very rarely happens. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge to growth, not just for myself, but for anybody coming into the area.
Obviously, locations and finding the right sites is particularly difficult. I think, touched on it before there, educating our customer base is really, really important. And I think that's a difficulty, to make sure people understand actually what we can offer them. People do just see these as always something where I go when I move house. I think you saw it before when I had the list of reasons why people utilise self-storage. Educating your local market that we are there for commercial usage, we are there for different life-changing situations is one aspect of it. And I think the other part of view that I see as a big challenge at the moment is discounting, unnecessary discounting. One of the things I would strongly recommend to you when you come into the marketplace, price isn't the big thing. Yes, you have to be competitive, but do not drive the price through the floor, because it takes a long time to recover from that. If you can open up your facility at a strong yield, you will be able to build it from there. If you start at the very bottom with heavy discounts, it will take you so much longer just to get to where you should be from a standing start. Please don't over discount, use discounts wisely, but that's a big challenge with new people coming into the market.
Where should developers or operators be looking next for future self-storage investment opportunities?
I think there's lots of opportunities out there, and I think this is the great thing. Even in the UK market, there is lots of places to look for and find. I think secondary towns are now becoming very, very popular. You can find a town or a location which has 40, 50,000 people within a 15-minute travel time. They're the kind of places that you can be looking for, certainly. I think there's a huge appetite for mainland Europe, and you've seen the amount of facilities that are in the UK, 2,500 facilities roughly in the UK at the moment. What did we say before? There's 70 or 80 in Portugal. There's a huge amount of opportunity in mainland Europe.
So you're saying everybody should come to Portugal? And
Everybody should come to Portugal and develop sites in Portugal. There's plenty of room. Would you like to answer?
Exactly that. I think compared, even in the UK, compared to the US, as far as I understand it, there's still plenty of room to grow. So there is plenty of room from the UK, and then Europe still has way. We're far behind, I think, by many years in this to the UK. Portugal potentially 20, 35 years behind the UK. And as we've been saying, it's just the sooner you have more people in Portugal understanding what self-storage is, the more clients we're going to have. So location-wise, yes, most of our inhabitants sit either between Lisbon and Portugal, but even between those two cities, and even with the competition currently, still plenty of room to grow if the real estate's available.
Looking at, I think, in the UK, in terms of them developing where they should look. I think there's opportunities, probably slightly different. I think there's a great opportunity. I was just chatting to somebody here today about a friend of mine has developed a farm recently, an old farm. And all right, it's not in the centre. It's not majorly it is not far off a busy road, but and I think those facilities may take a little bit more time to fill, but you'll probably find you got it a bit cheaper. The scope of what you can do with these things is actually quite vast, and I think there's some opportunities there where I think some people in the industry are driven by, they want a quick turn, they want to develop it quickly, turn it round and maybe move it on. And then you get other people who are in the business for the long term, and if it takes them 2 years to fill it instead of 1 year, then that's fine. And I think there is certainly opportunities rurally in the UK for smaller sites, and there is a demand for that. Having gone around and seen some ex-farms and things who've converted agricultural buildings and things, they're very busy and doing very well. And I think sometimes looking from the outside in, there's a lot of people within the industry very focused on, city centre and right next to a road, and it's a slightly different market and a slightly maybe a longer return, but I think there are opportunities there. And it's also priced accordingly as well, so I think that's maybe an area which people may want to look at.
In Europe, the houses are smaller than the US. And the US, the market is like 10 times the European market. So my answer to that is that you have opportunities all over Europe, UK also, because the market is growing a lot. So I think there is plenty of opportunities, not in Portugal, but as well in Spain, Italy, France, Germany, Poland. So we have a lot of opportunities.
In the United States, there's somewhere approximately around 60,000 self-storage facilities. But I always remind people, whether it's investors or analysts or others, that it's a 3 to 5 mile business, or the equivalent in kilometers. And so while there might be 60,000 self-storage facilities in the United States, there's still plenty of self-storage development going on even in the United States. So think about what that could mean for Europe. It is a 3 to 5 mile business. So that's where you need to look in terms of any particular opportunity, the 3 to 5 miles around your facility. If you could give one piece of advice to a self-storage startup, what would it be?
Look to the trends of the business regarding technology, regarding AI, and start implementing that since the beginning. I think it's very important, because then you will be always an updated operator.
Join the Self-Storage Association. And that's a wealth of knowledge, a lot of people, a wealth of help there for you that you just couldn't buy. And despite you thinking what the market's going to be, you're probably wrong. So join the Self-Storage Association.
We should probably point out that you have both country and the European area association.
Yeah,
right?
so there's one in, there's one here, there's one in most countries, but I would say just join the Self-Storage Association, and what you get from that will pay dividends, literally.
Put a lot of bet on your technology and your setup. And with that, I mean, in terms of your management system, in terms of no key, that just to try to make a decision and maybe start slightly smaller with an opportunity to grow. So if you have a big building, don't build the whole thing up, build it for, see if it works. If it doesn't work, you check it for the second floor.
Fundamentally, I think this all comes back down to sales. Sales is the key factor here, getting people in there. So my one bit of information or advice that I would give, and I mentioned it earlier on today, is getting that questioning right, getting that opportunity right for your customers. And the question of what's the situation really does open up that conversation with customers and makes it an experience, makes it more of a journey rather than just a process. So if you can get those people on board, treat them as humans, have that conversation with them, that does drive the business. At the end of the day, we need people to move into our facility. So for me, sales is key.
Well, great advice from all of you. Well, will you all join me in thanking our panelists for their interest?